Good morning, everyone. It's 10:30. We're live on Kane Live and Facebook Live. So if you're watching, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. My name is Kate Lee. I'm the volunteer administrator for the coalition. And we are so thrilled that we operate on a shoestring, but we do that through the generosity of so many incredible organizations. One of them has been Kane University and the Human Rights Institute, and I'd like to introduce you to the director, Dr. Loretta Farrell.
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of President Farahi and the entire Kane University community, I want to welcome you this morning to Kane. We're so pleased to have you here. As Kate said, I'm Loretta Farrell. I'm the director of the Human Rights Institute here. As a public university, we believe that we have an obligation to make sure that we're talking about the challenging issues that we are facing, to make sure that our students and community members understand what these issues are educated about them, and learn how to become active participants in civil society. To that end, the Human Rights Institute at Kane was established to broaden the university's long-standing commitment to promoting the awareness of human rights issues and violations across the globe, to develop initiatives and strategies to eradicate these atrocities and at their root causes. This effort has never been more important than now, when people of all colors and faiths are being forced from their homes by war, violence, persecution, and strife, embarking upon dangerous journeys to lands unknown. They're seeking refuge, looking for safety and opportunity, and a chance for survival, but they're being met with fear, discrimination, and marginalization. These are the same issues that are faced by victims of human trafficking. It makes sense, then, that we are partnering with the coalition to shed light on these issues and to develop strategies to end human trafficking in all forms. We look forward to growing this partnership, collaborating on our programming, and hosting you for future events. I hope you have a very productive meeting this morning, and if you have time, I invite you to wander around campus. It's really a little oasis in the middle of this urban center. And I'm fairly new to Kane, so I'm still amazed at how beautiful the university is. If you've got any questions about the work that we do here at the Human Rights Institute or about the university as a whole, please feel free to reach out to me. I've left some business cards in the back table, and I'll be in and out throughout the rest of the morning. I also thought I'd take a few minutes to do some housekeeping for those of you who are here, and it's probably a little late, but we have restrooms on the second floor. We have stairs in the front. There's also an elevator out this door that will take you up to the restrooms. But we've opened up the access to the library, so there are restrooms over there as well. If you need anything, just give us a shout. We can make copies of things. We can make phone calls for you. We can do whatever it is that you need for us. And again, I am just so happy that you are here with us this morning. This is exactly why we've got this space, is to bring together organizations that are like-minded to doing the same work. So again, thank you and enjoy.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. That was a beautiful welcome. And honestly, looking at everybody, what a beautiful gathering. I expose slavery in this country because to expose it is to kill it. Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was an African-American reformer, abolitionist, suffragist, and escaped slave. His words, so powerful and still relevant today. So, officially, saludos and welcome to our annual meeting, 2018. I'm Dr. Esmelda Bruhorn-Basel. I'm the president of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and I'm thrilled to be here today. In particular, because we have 3 levels of celebration. We're gathered to celebrate this year's accomplishments. We're also here to notice the current needs of the day. And we're also here to push forward with our vision to end slavery in New Jersey. I welcome all of those watching us at Kane Live and Facebook Live. Our aim is to always ensure that no matter where we are in New Jersey, no matter where you are in New Jersey, that we can be accessible to one another and work together. The New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking, we say coalition, is building an abolitionist movement to end human trafficking in our state and in our country. Since our formation in 2011, we have brought together diverse organizations to strengthen laws and to raise awareness about this horrific pandemic. It's not going to be tragic, folks. We have a lot to celebrate. Since becoming a 501c3, in just 18 months from when we started, we have had extraordinary results. We've grown to represent over 150 organizations. And now we offer individuals as well as organizations a meaningful way to participate in the fight against modern-day slavery through the development of a network of committees. We now have 12 committees, 6 subcommittees, and 4 ad hoc committees. We're engaging artists, we're engaging advocates and educators, faith communities, healthcare professionals, lawyers, students, social workers. We are engaging citizens. Nearly 200 individuals participate in these varied committees, and everyone is drawn to the mission and share in the mission to unite New Jersey communities to abolish human trafficking. Our formal nonprofit status allows us to be a portal of action and a portal of education in the state of New Jersey. This portal allows us to have a model, and this model facilitates 5 primary functions. The first, to lead a comprehensive abolitionist movement against human trafficking. The second, to educate the public about legislation and foster informed dialogue. 3, moderate advocacy efforts in New Jersey. 4th, create statewide resources and referrals that integrate services. Integration is key. And 5th, to mobilize our grassroots partners and community members when action is needed. And we've done just that. There is no other organization poised to do this in the state of New Jersey, according to the New Jersey Division of Children and Families. Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery, and according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services fact sheet, it is rapidly growing. It's a rapidly growing criminal industry, second only to drug dealing and equal in scope to arms dealing. Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, and/or coercion for the purpose of sexual exploitation or forced labor. There are millions of slaves worldwide, and the U.S. Department estimates 600 to 800,000 people are trafficked in the United States annually. More than 50% of the victims worldwide are estimated to be under the age of 18. It is important to note that federal and New Jersey laws state that any person under 18 involved in commercial sex industry is considered a human trafficking victim, and that is an important thing to note. New Jersey. Why New Jersey? New Jersey is one of the most diverse states in the country. It's also a major national and international transport area. We have shipping corridors, we have highways, we have airports. We have year-round tourism, right? We are a destination. We have Atlantic City. We have crowded summertime shorelines and the proximity to 2 of the country's largest cities, New York City and Philadelphia. Anyone can be from New Jersey. Anyone can look like they're from New Jersey. And these factors create a prime location for human trafficking and the lack of awareness and the silence. The coalition is powerful because of all our members. Our statewide service provider, the Dreamcatcher program, is just one of the several case management agencies in the state. But with a sole focus on human trafficking, their statistics are telling, and I wanted to share them with you. In 4 years, they have amassed a client base of over 550. Over 80% of their clients are US citizens. I'm going to say that one again. Over 80% of their clients are US citizens. Their clients include survivors of both sex and labor trafficking, but vast majority, nearly 90%, are sex trafficking survivors. And the ages of their clients range from 10 years old to 75 years old. 10 to 75 years old. That's a range. The need for grassroots abolitionists and grassroots abolitionist organizations like the Coalition is evident. We're committed to fulfilling that need through our work. In the past year, our key initiatives have been exciting, remarkable, extraordinary. I'm thrilled. Number one, we formed a new legislative committee with 4 subcommittees. Its first action was on the federal legislation, was to stop the sale of children on the internet by amending the Communications Decency Act. That legislation, that legislation was signed into law in April. The committee is currently supporting state legislation to introduce a pilot program in our schools. Our team reached out to every legislator in the state to inform them of our priorities. We had a seat at the table in the transition process to the new administration. Number 2, we engaged a survivor consultant, Gina, to ensure our work is survivor informed, that is, to give voice to those that we're helping. In her short time with the Coalition, she has networked with nearly 50 other survivors. At a retreat in Ohio, at the art program in New York, where Gina created the incredible painting here, so many survivors were able to share their stories. They talked about their deprived childhoods. So being offered the opportunity to paint and to create art was especially meaningful. Gina shared that she recognized common traits amongst the survivors that she encountered. Gina said that for them, it was all rooted and started in the home. What happened in their homes, the survivors said, included concerns of sexual abuse and neglect, bullying, and other factors that slowly chipped away at their self-esteem. Gina commends our prevention work that brings awareness directly to the communities and the schools, and we hope to do Gina proud. As a way to enhance our educational programs, we introduced a scholarship program this year, and you'll shortly be hearing about our first recipients. We created Spanish language resources and a means for those in our community to reach out in Spanish to ask questions. Yo estoy muy contenta. And we carried out our 9th outreach to hotels and motels in New Jersey, taking us to over 900 properties reached since we began this work in 2014 to the Super Bowl in collaboration with survivor Teresa Flores' SOAP program. I know that many of you have worked on the SOAP program. And I went a little fast. This is the actual slide. We held our first Liberator Award ceremony. That was massive. Honoring those who have made an outstanding contribution to the fight against modern-day slavery. Our Leader Award going to Assemblywoman Valerie Huddle. Our Founder Award going to Melanie Roth-Gorolich and the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West. Our Healer Award going to Dawn Lomingino DiMario and the Dream Catchers Program. Our Innovator Award to Susan Panzica and Justice Network. Our Student Award to Project Stay Gold. And our Supporter Award to the Community Foundation of New Jersey. All well-deserved. We ran a 7-hour virtual summit on Facebook Live to mark January 11th as Human Trafficking Awareness Day. And we held our second January internship program. The 2018 program was created by previous interns under the guidance of our academic internship director and had 105 applicants for 15 spaces. The project this year was to create a video about how New Jersey communities are battling human trafficking, and that video can be viewed on our website. Please visit. We recognize that ending human trafficking is a 365-day-a-year project, and we only touch the surface of the problems in our communities. Our focus now has to be stopping the demand for trafficked people in our state through civic engagement, community service, and continued collaboration. So, we've outlined a couple of goals. In order to end human trafficking, the coalition will continue to raise awareness throughout New Jersey, while building bridges and supporting one another, supporting the connections between not-for-profits, interfaith communities, community organizations, government entities. All of us, including the New Jersey Commission on Human Trafficking, another partner. So specifically, what are our goals? Number one, acting as a central information clearinghouse and network to keep coalition members connected and energized. Number two, engaging and monitoring at the policy level New Jersey legislators, the New Jersey Commission on Human Trafficking, and the Office of the Attorney General, Division of Justice, New Jersey's Human Trafficking Task Force. And we're delighted to be having the new director of the Division on Criminal Justice here to speak to us today. We can't wait. Number three, building an abolitionist movement through education. Remember, Frederick Douglass was an educator, if nothing else. Building an abolitionist movement through education, resource creation, and raising awareness at the grassroots level. Number four, assisting survivors by surviving as a central connector to those working in the field of human trafficking and survivor assistance. And finally, number five, remaining active in diverse national organizations to keep human trafficking eradication on the agenda. We must keep the focus on ending modern-day slavery. We cannot, however, do this alone. Thank you to our volunteer leaders who make it possible to achieve our ambitious goals. So if you're a committee member or a subcommittee co-chair, chair, administrator for committees, or a chair of the committee as a whole, please stand up and be recognized. Who's here? Beautiful. Thank you very, very much to our chairs and our co-chairs, our administrators, our leaders, and also our volunteers. I have to tell you, it is the lifeblood of our coalition. After this meeting, I'll be handing a small token of thanks to our leadership. So for the co-chairs and the chairs, please meet me in the back. Our commitment to this cause is heartfelt. every single person in this room, every single person who's worked on any of our events is key, crucial. Your commitment to the cause will help us achieve our vision of New Jersey free for human trafficking. We invite everyone to get involved in our committee work and now offer an easy way to get started with sign-up forms on our website, so please go and join. And also, because we are being televised and this message is going out to the entire state through Kane Live and Facebook Live, I want to encourage everybody out there watching to also be part of the membership and get involved in whatever way possible. I also invite everyone here and those watching to meet us again in 2019 for our next annual meeting and to hear a little bit about what we've accomplished between now and then. Mil gracias. Thank you for coming. And now to keep us going is our board secretary, Susan Panzica.
Thank you, Esmelda. Those were such inspiring words, and now we're into the business part of the meeting. And it is our election, our treasurer report, and our committee report. But as I'm thinking about this business part of the meeting, I'm thinking that it is the first election that we are holding as a 501c3, and frankly, that is inspiring too. I think you'll agree. I'd like to thank the members of the nominating committee for our slate of nominees, Susan Waldman, Sue Rosenthal, and Merle Kalishman for an outstanding job. Just so that you know, according to our bylaws, the president, secretary, and half of the trustees are elected in odd number years. So today we are voting on the vice president, treasurer, and other trustees at large. So I would like to announce to our chair and to the audience that we do have a quorum, and the first annual election for the board, members of the Board of Trustees of the New Jersey Coalition of Human Trafficking can proceed. So my first question is, if you are a voting member, have you received a ballot? I know some people came in late. I saw that you may not have a ballot. But if you are a voting member and need a ballot, could you just raise your hand? Okay. Sue and Susan, would you mind distributing these? Or Kate? Okay. And then you can just check off who got it. So I will read the nominees as presented by the nominating committee. Danny Papa for vice president, Kate Lee for treasurer, and for trustees at large, James Halfpenny, Aldina Hove, Miriam Korn-Hames, and Sister Mary Beth Lloyd. I would like to ask at this time if there are any nominations from the floor. Okay, thank you. Do I have to change it? Oh, I did not know that was there. So at this time, if you would cast your vote by checking in the box next to candidate, please make sure that you have 6 check marks on your ballot. And when you are done, if you would just just pass your ballots to the center, and 2 of our many Susans will collect your ballot. I've declared myself Susan the Third. But there are more than 3. There's while we are collecting the ballots, I thank you for that. I declare that the polling is closed and we may continue on with our business. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kate Lee, who is wearing her second hat now as treasurer of the Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Good morning. I always think the treasurer's report can be the dullest piece. I hope it isn't. But I do believe as a treasurer of a nonprofit in New Jersey, we need to be as transparent as possible and have everyone realize what we are working with, literally the dollars and cents. So you'll see right off, we're a very small nonprofit. We actually only qualify to have to file a postcard. They call it postcard 990. We are below $50,000 annual income. I'm showing you our net income. Obviously, our gross income is a little more than this. But the first thing I need to do is just to say thank you. I mean, this might seem small, and I'm saying it's a small number, but this is a growth number for us. And we are absolutely delighted and thrilled, and it's down to you, our donors. Our donors are you in the room, and I can see who you are. I thank you so much. Those may be watching at home. If you are watching at home, thank you, or in your offices. We appreciate everything you've done. Your generosity, you'll see from this large blue piece of pie, it is the largest piece of what we bring in every year, and that's now reached nearly $10,000 of private donations and small organizational donations. Our fiscal year won't actually technically end for another couple of weeks, but there are copies of our annual report here in the room, in the back when you came in, and if you're watching in your offices or at home, you can access that report on our website under Who We Are, Mission and Vision, and you'll find it right there. Another area of growth can be seen in the teal piece of the pie, which amounts to nearly $2,000. And this is just an interesting growth area, and I wanted to share it with you. We're getting donations from groups where we go to speak, where they ask for a speaker. And although our volunteer speakers in the Speakers Bureau offer their services for free, many times the groups they speak to want to make a donation. So we're thrilled, obviously, to accept that. We're obviously incredibly grateful. If you are in the Speakers Bureau doing this work, thank you for making this an extra bonus growth area and engaging with so many organizations, community groups around the state. We were very lucky as well this year to receive an outreach grant of over $2,000, which is in the purple, sorry, the colors are a little similar. The purple pie, that came from Christchurch in Short Hills, and that was specifically allocated to our SOAP outreach program, which is an incredible hands-on effort. It engages, we get a training from a survivor from Ohio, we bring her into the state, and then we mobilize people the same day to hotels and motels, and it's incredibly important. It turns an ordinary person into an abolitionist in a single day, so please get engaged with that next year if you would like. Our Liberator Awards event netted us $6,000, which was incredible, and it was not only that, it was a lovely and inspiring evening. We'll only be running that every 2 years, so of course in the coming year we're going to be looking for new income in that category of events, so stay tuned. On our expense charts, you can see that the largest chunks of our expenditure go on awareness materials, such as the printed materials, promotional items, and items for our Speakers Bureau, programming, such as our awareness events in January and throughout the year, include committee expenses, screening costs, hospitality, because where we can, and most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, all the events we offer are free. So that is what your dollars are buying. Your dollars are buying accessibility to everybody. Nobody should be left out of this conversation. Nobody that wants to learn about it should feel excluded because money is a factor. Money is never a factor. We will come to you, to your communities for free, or we will host events for free. We also engaged a survivor consultant, which was incredible, and it truly informs our work and I think will make us, in the future, even better organization. We also started a scholarship program, which was exciting and has been exciting. You're going to hear more about that shortly. But we are granting today, and we are announcing today, 4 $500 scholarships to high school seniors and college students. Also, we have very small lobbying expenses, but we do record them so that we can track those lobbying expenses to show the IRS that lobbying is an insubstantial part of what we spend, and it enables us to keep doing our work with you and share those legislative initiatives. One area we spend very little on, yay, is our administrative costs. You'll be thrilled to hear. That's in part because we're volunteer run, and we have a virtual office in the clouds. We don't actually have any physical space, and we now want to say thank you so much to Alyssa Santo. If she's here, could she stand up? She is our new office administrator. She's right at the back. Thank you, Alyssa. So she donates her time to answer your emails, and she runs other aspects of the coalition you'll be hearing about. The other reason is because of the generous donations we receive of space and printing, most especially from the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West, and also places like Kane University. Our other venues as well this year have been the Middlesex County Fire Academy, Calvary Temple International, and Villa Walsh Academy. Thank you so much to those organizations, and of course to everyone here for their generosity and ongoing support. We couldn't really literally do this work without you. And that said, I would now like to turn the meeting to Dr. Susan Nair, our committee's coordinator. Oh, those are our goals, I'm sorry. There we go.
It's this one?
Yeah, and make sure, check it.
Okay. First of all, for those of us who are short is powerful. Now, I'd like you to take a look, if I do it right. Yes. Look at this. You may not be able to see what it says in all those boxes, but think about it. In 2011, there were maybe 5 community organizations forming the coalition. These are the committees, and this is how we all fit together. And we have just grown exponentially, and there are so many activities going on. And the challenge is to make sure that we're all working together, just like we started the whole coalition, so that it wouldn't be a whole bunch of silos of different community organizations working to, we want to pool our resources. Now it's the same thing with our committees, and we don't want them to be silos. We want everybody to be working together. So this is what we have. And now, I may be repeating a few things that Kate said and Esmilda said, but they're worth repeating when I describe what the committees have done. Since we changed our fiscal year, this is for all of 2017 plus the first half of 2018. And as Esmilda had mentioned, we now have it very easy for you to join a committee by simply going on that tab on our website, going down the list, click on something that looks interesting, and read more about it, and sign up. And I encourage everybody to do this, especially the folks who couldn't make it here today and are watching. Just go there. You're going to hear about what each committee is doing, and if you like it, click on it. So, now, we have 2 new committees this year that are just in formation, and that's from our action planning meeting in March, that we wanted to add a communications committee and a membership committee. So I will be reading them on the list, but they're just in formation now. And it's just remarkable work that the nominating committee has done to recruit all this talent. So now what I'm going to do is in alphabetical order. I'm going to tell you what the committees have been doing since our last annual meeting. And so, in alphabetical order, the first committee is the Arts Committee. And here we go, it's traffic slam there. But anyway, the chairs are Wincy Terry Bryant. Wave your hand. Yay, there she is. And, yes. And we want to welcome a new chair to work with her is Corinne LeBaron. Corinne? Yay, okay. Now, everybody here in the audience, take a look at these people, because after the conclusion of the meeting, if you're interested in working on their committee, you can talk to them some more. And you can also, of course, do it online. Now, what did they do? They did this phenomenal traffic slam of poetry and music. And then they also assisted in the performances at our Liberator Awards Gala. Then we have our brand new Communications Committee. So thank you to the people who came forward for this. Alyssa Santos, wave, Caitlin Stetzel, and Billy Stetzel, with Chris Sagona leading our social media work. So if anybody's here, please wave. They will be working to amplify the work of all our committees and our member organizations' events aimed at ending modern-day slavery. Now, our next committee is the Education Committee. And that is chaired by Danny Papa, Danny Wave, and Crystal Woolston. Is Crystal here? Anyway, as you see here from the flyer, they held a professional development symposium for educators in the fall of 2017. They started the scholarship program, which you'll hear about just after my presentation. They assisted the legislative committee, see how we all work together, on the education bill in the state assembly. They started a curriculum and resources subcommittee, and they began the planning process for high school assemblies for the coming school year. Now, you already saw our interns, and as a subcommittee of the working together with the education committee, we have the January internship program chaired by Louise Murray. Louise, wave. She did a remarkable job and is continuing to do so. So as you heard before, yes. As you heard before, she had with her committee, she had this daunting task of selecting 15 highly qualified undergraduate students from an applicant pool of 105. And then the 15 interns received training about human trafficking and produced a video which you can watch on our website to promote public awareness of human trafficking. Now, the next one is fundraising, chaired by Merle Kalishman. Can you wave, Merle? And thank you. There she is. Now, the fundraising committee helped with the annual fund drive and Liberator Awards tribute journal. They're in the process of developing a tribute card for donations. They're continuing to sell the necklaces. And they will be working on gaining corporate sponsorship and organizational grants in the coming year. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the necklace a little bit later. Now, here is a huge committee. This is the Healthcare Committee. The chairs are Diana Starris, Diana's here, I know, and Aldina Hovde, and Ingrid Johnson, and myself. And Now, in May 2017, they presented a day-long training for healthcare providers on trauma-informed care. And this past year, developed and piloted a survey to assess human trafficking awareness training in healthcare systems, because it is part of the regulations, but to be able to fit into how each different healthcare system works and fits seamlessly and find a way of educating all these people, that's quite a challenge. So they also began the creation and implementation of standardized human trafficking training within the organizational structure of the various healthcare organizations, and also provided and continue to provide direct education to different groups within the healthcare system. For example, physicians, nurses, mental health practitioners, and EMS providers. And each of those, the training has to be tweaked to the needs of that particular professional group. And in order to do all this, they've been recruiting and training speakers to expand the provision of educational services. They've trained 5 student interns and are in the process of gathering information to create a statewide directory of services for victims and survivors of human trafficking, so that the providers have right at their fingertips exactly what's available. And check out their brand new page on our website for more information. And you'll see a video that includes our very own Ingrid Johnson. Very proud of that. Then the subset of the healthcare is the Survivor Services Subcommittee, chaired by Jennifer Amaya, wave please, and Monica Kristen. And they just began their work to provide a hub for service providers, to create and share a service guide and coordinate donations, training, and grant opportunities. So if one organization sees a grant and they don't quite qualify, they'll let the other folks know maybe they can get the grant. The other thing is that we've also had we had career clothing donations at our April meeting, and at our November meeting we were collecting gift cards to be given to victims by the service providers like Dreamcatchers, and so they are working to coordinate that. Hey, I've got some business clothes that we've already satisfied our clients, your clients need some. So it's that kind of stuff that they're doing. Now the next committee is a huge committee. They're so big that they divided themselves into 4 subcommittees. So here is, let's see, yeah, this is legislative. Okay, so legislative, you can see there, very large and active committee. And the chairs, and please wave, and if I fracture your name, okay, if I fracture your name, I'm used to it with my name, so please, I empathize with you and forgive me. So it's Helen Arcantu, Mandy Perlmutter, Mary Jackson, Sue Flynn, and Kate Lee. And now in April of 2017, they organized a legislative roundtable, which reformulated the legislative committee and set legislative priorities in 4 areas and created the associated subcommittees. So the first one is survivor protection and demand reduction, chaired by Professor Penny Vanitas, Sue Flynn, and Kate Lee. Please wave. Hotline awareness, chaired by L.A. Lynch, Jackie McDonald, and Sarah Lynn. Please wave. Thank you. Education and training, chaired by Mary Jackson. And federal legislation, chaired by Claire Vandertoon. Thank you. Okay, now, think about all the stuff that they did. First of all, they created a strict protocol to follow in order for the coalition to take a sponsoring position on legislation. We can't just say, oh, this sounds good. They really have to research it and make sure that the wording of the proposed law is powerful and there's no loopholes. And to me, personally, what was very exciting was that they were able to do this on federal legislation, H.R. 1865, to stop children from being sold on the internet. And they also created calls to action following the screenings of the film I Am Jane Doe. And then they were part of the victory when the law passed. Now, to me, why this is so important is that we have in New Jersey, a lot due to the efforts of the coalition, one of the most powerful packages of legislation about human trafficking. But one part, okay, you got it? There, can you hear me? Good. One part of the legislation that was struck down was because Backpage sued and said that we couldn't include prosecution against internet activity. And so they won, but now we won, because it took a federal law to be able to make the state law possible. And so this was just an amazing, amazing event. And I'm pleased to say that Backpage closed down. A lot more websites popped up, but they're gone. Anyway, but that's just the beginning, because the Legislative Committee also made recommendations to the governor-elect and the transition team, the transition committee, which were noted, which means official recognition, in the Human and Children's Services Transition Committee's final report. We also sent all elected New Jersey legislators January awareness cards, which included our coalition pin, and to make them aware of our legislative priorities, which led to invitations to meet legislators and the creation of a legislative delegation. Now, what is that? The legislative delegation is a list of experts from the coalition who are available to meet with legislators and testify at hearings as soon as the opportunity arises. So they're nimble and they're mobile, and there's something going on in Trenton, they'll be there. And the committee has also enabled the coalition to take a supporting position on a school's pilot program to teach human trafficking and the identification of at-risk trafficked school children. So this is very important. Now, the membership, okay, so this is, these are all our different organizations here. These are just some of them. Our membership committee, which just is in formation now, has chairs Sharon Farrow, Rosario Sanchez, and Tashika Allen. And could they please wave? Thank you. And they'll be working to ensure that every organization wishing to become a member can do so easily, and that they'll be kept informed about our work. Now, the nominating committee. This, we couldn't function without this, and our chair is Susan Waldman. So Susan, yay! They solicited inclusive input, really worked hard, to select the honorees for our Liberator Awards Gala. They produced today's slate for the Board of Trustees, and they nominated the new chairs for the Arts, Communications, and Membership Committees. Now the Slave-Free Commerce Committee. Chairs are Bob Boneberg and Mary Beth Gallagher. And this, I'll just explain briefly what they've been up to. Okay. So they're planning a series of educational events for the community about slavery in the supply chain of goods, and I will explain. We had a wonderful jewelry designer design our necklaces. But after she did that, it took us another 4 months before she could start to make them. We had to make sure that the metal was slave-free, that it was cut, formed into circles by slave-free employment, that there was no slavery. As far as we can tell, we tried so hard in the supply chain for the fabric to make the cords. That's very complicated because there are so many different steps, and that can very easily get lost and just disappear. So the Slave-Free Commerce Committee is researching the best ways to address consumer awareness, let people know about all these issues, and also the best way to develop legislation to ensure that government procurement of goods is from slave-free purchases. That means that when the state of New Jersey buys something, for example, that there's no component of that article that was built by slaves. Very hard to do. And related to that is to develop legislation to demand transparency in the supply chain, so that manufacturers can certify that no slaves were used. Next committee, there's just a few more, but you see, this is just going on and on because there's so much work going on. Okay, so the next one is SOAP. The SOAP committee is chaired by Sue Flynn and Kate Lee. Please wave. And you heard about that before, but to give you a little bit more detail, the SOAP committee carried out the coalition's 9th SOAP outreach in April in collaboration with SOAP, which stands for Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution, from that founder and survivor, Teresa Flores. The mobilization trained over 70 volunteers who brought posters of local missing children, free bars of soap, and packets of information to 100 hotels and motels in Union and Essex counties. The soap labels have the national hotline on them, so that if a victim is working in a hotel, they have access to it. Over the past years, the committee has mobilized teams in Camden County, Atlantic County, as well as Morris, Passaic, and Middlesex counties. At each outreach, at least one missing child has been identified by hotel staff. The SOAP committee has now reached over 800 hotels and motels in the state. And finally, very important, is our Speakers Bureau. The Speakers Bureau chairs are Susan Panzica and Jim Halfpenny, and their administrator is Patty Pfeiffer. Please wave. And they have created an easy, efficient system to receive requests for speakers on our website and receive post-events reports. They have covered all 30 requests for speakers, and more are coming in. They've added more speakers to the Bureau, obviously, and they've created speaker kits for speakers throughout the state to have adequate tabling material. So it's a huge bag with our logo and all the stuff that we can that we need to set up a table. Our pens, our our necklaces, everything, and all sorts of brochures. So I just want to, you see, this is just a remarkable amount of work. And I want to thank everybody. Everybody gets another big round of applause. Thank you so much. And now, whoops, I'm sorry. I did too many. Kate can always rescue everybody. But anyway, so I want to now turn the meeting over to Danny Papa, because you've been hearing about the scholarship thing as a tease. Now he's going to tell you all about it. He's the co-chair of the Education Committee.
Good morning. Abraham Lincoln said, "The philosophy of the classroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next." We believe at the Education Committee that those philosophies that should be instilled in our students in our classrooms should be that of empathy and a focus on human rights. Obviously, a spirit of abolition as well. And in order to support that, I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for supporting the scholarship program, and especially thank Crystal Woolston, who cannot be with us today. She's actually leading a student trip out of state. She leads a number of trips through her office at Montclair State at the end of the school year. I also would like to thank all of the committee members. I believe there were 8 of you. If you were on that committee and you reviewed the applications, just give us a quick wave. Thank you for reviewing the applications that came in. We received 10 applications, 6 at the high school level. 4 at the high school level, 6 at the college level. And it was very difficult to select our 4 recipients because every single application was outstanding. And it's just a testament to the incredible history makers that we have in our educational program throughout our state. Crystal put together an incredible rubric that was very concise and really evaluated the applications that came in. And our 4 recipients are the names that you see on the board. Brooke, I can't say there, yeah. She's part of Metuchen High School, which has an organization called Breaking the Chain Through Education, and they have raised close to $100,000 to rescue children out of the fishing industry in Ghana. They've built a school. They make trips there routinely. Their organization's been together for close to 12 years. And then we also have our college students who have received, so what they're receiving $500 scholarships, and this is a way that we can continually invest into our students. The experience I've had with my students is this. They've said to me, Mr. Papa, I'm going to college, I'm going to major in journalism, and I want to be a journalist who exposes human trafficking. I'm starting a business, and I want to have a business that is slave-free. And what we are seeing is the investment that we're making into our children is that they are taking this philosophy of abolition and a focus on human rights with them into their careers, and that is how we will bring about a slave-free world. So thank you for all of your support in this scholarship, and we are hoping that next year we can expand it and award even more than just 4. So thank you for all your support.
Thank you, Danny Papa. And now we're really so honored to have the Director of the Division of Criminal Justice, the Office for the New Jersey Attorney General, Veronica Allende, here to speak with us. Thank you.
There you are. Good morning. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today in the room, and also our friends joining us on Kane Live and Facebook Live. I was so honored by the Coalition for inviting me to speak here today. And I have to say, I just recently became the Division of Criminal Justice Director. It is a dream position for me because now, in this role, I get to affect change in a greater way. And part of that means I get to join efforts with organizations such as yourselves in combating critical needs, right, like human trafficking and so many other critical needs in our state. So there are a number of divisions, right, that we hear about. There's so many acronyms and so many justice divisions. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about what our division does and how we're committed to working with each of you to combat human trafficking. Our Division of Criminal Justice falls within the purview of the Attorney General, our State Attorney General, Grabir Graywall. And within our Division of Criminal Justice, we have a number of different bureaus, one of which is our Gangs and Organized Crime Bureau, and what falls within that is our Human Trafficking Unit. The premier prosecutor, and I would say the leader in our Human Trafficking Unit, is Anne Marie Taggart, who is sitting here today. Anne Marie, you can say hello. Anne Marie has undoubtedly been a driving force in our office for so many years, and I'll get back to her in just a moment. But our division is one that has statewide jurisdiction. We also oversee the 21 county prosecutors across the state and work collaboratively with them on a number of initiatives. So we have the reach to expand in the number of investigations and prosecutions of human trafficking and so many other crimes across the state, not only within our own division, but also throughout the state and coordinating with our county prosecutors. So when I first received this invitation to attend this meeting, I admittedly had little knowledge of the organization, this incredible group, and the many endeavors which you undertake. But thankfully, one of the first decisions that I got to make as the new Division of Criminal Justice Director was to choose at least 2 people to be part of my executive staff in the new role of counsel to the, in their new role as counsel to the director. In addition to assisting me with the day-to-day operations of the division, my counsel also advised me on critical issues facing our state, issues that should be priorities for me during my tenure as director. For me, choosing my new counsel was a very easy choice. As I mentioned, Anne Marie Taggart, who's here today, who some of you may know, hopefully most of you probably do know, was recently promoted to be counsel to the DCJ director. I could not be more thrilled to have her by my side as I embark on my journey with the division. For over 10 years, Anne Marie has led our division in investigating and prosecuting a number of offenders throughout the state. She also now serves in her new role as counsel as the chairperson for our Attorney General's Human Trafficking Task Force, of which I know our coalition is a part. And I cannot understate how excited I am to not only have her by my side, but also to hear about all of the new initiatives and creative ideas she's going to have for expanding our DCJ footprint in the area of eradicating human trafficking. In addition to having Anne Marie as a tremendous resource and as a driving force within our division, we also have an incredibly vibrant and growing cybercrimes unit within our office. I wanted to highlight that because when I mentioned to my other exec staff members that Anne Marie was going to be joining us as counsel and taking on the new role of being our driving force in human trafficking, our exec staff pointed out that we also, in our cyber unit, have been combating child trafficking and child sex trafficking over the internet. And I will tell you that on that side of the house, we have some very, very passionate actors and passionate advocates for our children who are being exploited, not just who are exploited through the internet and through so many other means. And so I hope that our cyber unit will also be a resource and a partner in combating human trafficking, particularly on the front of with our children. So I wanted to be sure that I included in my remarks today an acknowledgement and recognition of Anne Marie, because it was she who first talked to me about our division's critical need to work more proactively and collaboratively in eradicating human trafficking in New Jersey. Before she even became counsel to the director, she brought this critical issue to my attention and told me that this should be one of my priorities, which is another reason why I picked her as my counsel, because I know she's going to be doing great things. But it was Anne Marie who sat me down and explained to me not only what our task force does within our Attorney General's office, but also what this tremendous organization does. Our New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. Anne Marie told me about how your organization is comprised of over 150 statewide organizations, including nonprofits and faith-based groups, and government and law enforcement agencies, and direct service providers. I cannot understate how floored I was by the extraordinary efforts she was telling me about that the coalition has undertaken throughout the years to increase awareness of human trafficking through community outreach, through victim support, and through legislative efforts. And I have to say that I was equally, if not more floored, sitting here today and hearing about all of the different committees that you guys have, the new committees that you're forming, and all of the endeavors that you've taken throughout the year. I cannot underscore how floored I am by your efforts and how excited I am to be a new partner with all of you. So I have to say, this is week 5 in my directorship of DCJ. And thank you. Thank you. I'm a prosecutor's prosecutor. I've been a career prosecutor for the past almost 12 years. And I will tell you that in this new role as director, one of the best parts of my job has been being out in the community, learning about what all of these amazing community organizations are doing on the grassroots level, and learning how we in the Division of Criminal Justice can partner with you, can work collaboratively with you to gather the intel that you have so that we can build bigger cases against our egregious offenders. So when I received the invitation to attend this meeting, I immediately committed to attending, because as DCJ director, I am committed, and my division is committed, and the Attorney General's office is committed to enlarging our division's footprint in the fight against human trafficking. It's funny because when I get asked to speak at certain events, sometimes I'm asked to give a keynote. And my idea behind a keynote address is to inspire people who are in whatever organization that I'm speaking to. And I have to tell you that when I was preparing my remarks today, I wasn't sure about how to do that with an organization that is already so inspired. And I met Kate Lee yesterday for the first time at our task force meeting, and just the energy that she radiated and the passion that she showed in our meeting yesterday, and speaking with her today, and hearing your president speak today, I was inspired. So for once, the tables were turned, and I have to tell you, thank you for that, and thank you for everything that you do. And I'm so excited to hear about how we can work together more in the future. And I just want to cede the floor to all of you, because sometimes it's better in my position, to listen as opposed to speaking. So this is your meeting, this is your floor. I am honored to be here to hear about the work that you're doing, and I'm excited to continue our collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.
Sometimes I feel we should be giving out superhero capes. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Anne Marie. And thank you to the DCJ for all of their work. We're also really thrilled to have the director of the National Human Trafficking Hotline, Caroline Dymar, here. Please come on up.
Look ahead. There we are. Great, I have slides in there. Good morning, everyone. I guess I have to do the opposite of everybody else, so I'm going to raise that up a little bit. I am absolutely honored to be here, especially as New Jersey is my home state. I am born and raised here, so it's really fun to be back here presenting in front of you and meeting with such an incredible group of individuals. It's really inspiring, as Veronica said, to be here with you all and see all the work that you are doing. As was mentioned, I am the director of the National Human Trafficking Hotline. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is operated by Polaris. Polaris is based in Washington, D.C. We have been operating the National Human Trafficking Hotline since 2007. Every year we reapply, every 3 years, we reapply to be awarded through Health and Human Services the cooperative agreement to operate the Human Trafficking Hotline. I'm going to get into some of the nitty-gritty about the hotline to make sure that you all are aware of what resource is out there for you and for the anti-trafficking community and the victims and survivors who are in need of resources. So the National Human Trafficking Hotline, as you might know, it is a phone number that you can all call. It's 888-373-7888. But we are so excited that in January we launched a chat and text line as well. I'm going to hand out cards when I'm finished that have this exact information on it, so you can have them for yourselves. And then they're also downloadable on our website that you can print and then hand out. So in January, we launched our chat and text line in both Spanish and English, and they are available 24/7. We had been operating a text line since 2013, but it was actually added into the cooperative agreement with HHS this past round when we were awarded in the fall. And so we're really excited to see that as a resource for individuals needing to reach out for help, as we see especially text as a preferred method for youth. And I know in New Jersey, a lot of youth are reaching out to us, so we're excited to see that for a resource. Additionally, hearing and speech impaired individuals can contact the hotline by dialing 711, which is the free national access number that connects to telecommunications relay services. Additionally, we have two other modes of communication. So in addition to the phone, text, and chat line, individuals can email us and submit a tip online through our online web form. And those all are processed through the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and depending on the sense of urgency within the information, will be processed accordingly. Additionally, we also have resources on our website, which is traffickingresourcecenter.org. And on there, we have a resource library, as well as a directory that you all can access at any time. So we have an internal directory that we use when people contact the hotline of over 4,000 partners across the country. But on the website, there are over 500 organizations that you all can access, and or victims and survivors at any time without needing to contact the hotline. You can type in your geographic location and then narrow down the types of services that you're looking for and get a very tailored response. It's a increasingly popular means for resources, as people aren't always wanting to talk to someone on the hotline. So here are some key statistics to date for the hotline, and these are national numbers from 2007 through 2017, so 10 years of data. You'll see that over those 10 years for the entire country, we responded to over 42,000 cases of human trafficking. We reported over 10,000 cases to law enforcement, and over 9,500 survivors contacted the hotline. And each of those numbers is growing year over year, and I'll get into those numbers in just a moment. Additionally, we have over 292 referral and response protocols. And that's what I want to get into with you all a little bit about the protocols that are available in New Jersey. So each state has different protocols on who to report a tip to. So it could be local law enforcement, it could be federal law enforcement, state law enforcement, and each state decides what their protocol looks like. In Colorado, they might have one protocol that says, okay, you're going to call 10 different individuals or email 10 different individuals with a tip. In New Jersey, you all have actually 20 protocols and over 30 people on each of those protocols. So it's wonderful, and if it's how you all decided it, but those protocols are continuously being changed, and we're really excited to work directly with you to determine if that is still the best fit for the state. That's the best thing about these protocols, is that they are always changeable and always adapting to meet the needs of the state. We are the national hotline. We can provide a national scope, but we rely so heavily on our partners on the ground who are doing the work in each state and each region to know what is actually going on and what's the best fit. So right now, it seems like that's the best fit, and I don't know if they're arranged by county or city or what it might be, but I'm going to work with Anne Marie and maybe Kate as well to identify if those are actually the best protocols for the state at this time. But it's really exciting to see the enthusiasm that over 30 people want to be receiving tips on in each of the areas. That is awesome. So we want to make sure, though, that they are the right people getting the tips and that there's no deconfliction issues that might go on during those investigations. Okay, sorry, just want to make sure I didn't turn the slide. So in 2017, I wanted to get into a little bit more of New Jersey. In 2017, in case you didn't see our stats released on the website, we had 417 calls from New Jersey. New Jersey always is around in the top 15 calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And of those 417 calls, 61 of those calls came directly from potential victims, which is about 14% of the New Jersey call volume. And in general, potential victims is about 10% of call volume. So you have a higher level of potential victims calling our hotline than maybe across the country. Additionally, those 417 calls related to 161 cases of human trafficking in the state. And of those cases, 133 of them were tip related. So those were individuals calling in and reporting a tip to the hotline. And then we determine, depending on what the information is, if it's actionable, if the person reporting is the actual victim or survivor themselves, or if they're a family member or a community member, then determining whether or not we report to law enforcement and or report to a service provider in the area. Again, we are looking very locally, built on our internal database of over 4,000 providers of who to refer to in those situations. We really take a very victim-centered approach in when we are reporting to law enforcement. And in terms of reporting to law enforcement, we are reporting children when they're involved in a situation of human trafficking or if they're being abused. But then with adults, we really, again, put the victim's wishes and their wants first and foremost. If they do not want law enforcement involved, we are going to recognize what their wishes are. However, if there are extreme levels of violence or danger, we will report to our law enforcement contacts. Of the 161 cases from New Jersey, 75% of those are sex trafficking. It's interesting to note, so over the past kind of 3 to 5 years, we've seen a slight dip in calls from New Jersey. However, what's really interesting is we've seen an increase in minors being reported or identified within New Jersey. And I think that's a result of Child Protective Services who are often calling our hotline. And so it kind of correlates very directly with CPS calling in and with us being able to identify more child victims of trafficking. And that is actually by far the most common case we are getting from New Jersey is reports from CPS workers calling to report minor sex trafficking or runaway and missing youth. And these often will involve transportation of potential victims up and down the I-95 corridor, either from New Jersey to Connecticut to New York, within New Jersey. So really looking at the states right along New Jersey as well. And just to note in terms of the chat and text, which I mentioned before, since the start in 2018, we have had 33 chat and texts from New Jersey. But then, as I mentioned, with our bordering states, it's important to look at New York and maybe Philadelphia as well to see what type of signals we're getting from there. And we've had 50 text and chat signals from New York and 9 from Philadelphia. So really interesting to look at the entire kind of 3 states in a row, and you're getting close to 100 chat and texts at that time. So the 2 most common types of cases that we're getting to the national hotline from New Jersey are, as I mentioned, CPS workers reporting minor sex trafficking. But we're also getting foreign national labor trafficking victims. For example, we had an adult female Filipino foreign national who was brought to the US on an H-2B visa and promised a housekeeping job. However, when she arrived, she was forced to work at a restaurant instead and paid for half the amount that she was promised when she was brought here. When she complained to the potential trafficker, she was threatened with deportation and verbally abused. This person contacted the hotline and wanted to report to law enforcement, and again, respecting the caller's wishes as the victim and survivor themselves, we were able to report to our local law enforcement contacts and provide that person with referrals. They actually reached out via email because they didn't have access to a phone because of the controller. And so we were able to provide all of that information over email. It's interesting to note, as I mentioned again, with New Jersey being part of the tri-state area or right along the 95 corridor with other bordering states that are smaller and easy, very accessible, within our protocols that I talked about earlier, we are able to report to multiple different protocols per state at one time. And so we're not having to call multiple, or the victim themselves isn't having to call multiple law enforcement agencies because they were in Philadelphia yesterday and they're in New York next month and then they're in New Jersey today. We are able to have that comprehensive report to law enforcement versus having to do so many different reports and then potentially have confliction issues when they're actually investigating. I also do want to highlight that we are so impressed with all of the resources that are available in New Jersey, especially Dreamcatchers. Dreamcatchers and Sonar Wellness are 2 of our top referral agencies. And it's interesting that most of the agencies that we have in New Jersey are around the metropolitan area, so really closer to the New York City region. And so we're really interested in building out our referral directory with other resources that are out there. And so we encourage anybody who is interested in belonging to our internal referral directory or the one that's public on the website to go online and fill out an application to be included. And then we review those applications and each organization goes through a vetting process before being included. So here I'm gonna go through a couple graphs and then wrap up about signals to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, again, over the past 10 years. This is a graph that indicates that signal volume to the National Human Trafficking Hotline has been increasing year over year. You'll see quite a trajectory, and this year we're actually expected to reach about over 100,000 signals to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And we attribute that to the addition of chat and text this year, but as well as more and more states and regions and cities doing awareness campaigns that include the National Human Trafficking Hotline number. Those are such as the SOAP campaign. Those are driving people to the National Human Trafficking Hotline as a national resource that is local in scope and is able to coordinate regardless of where the person is. And the survivor only has to remember one number. So it's really exciting to see that trajectory. Next, we have the total signals from survivors that are increasing year over year. And I'm going to just step away. I have a very loud voice, so I think you can hear me. There are two different lines. The first line up here is the number of signals directly from victims and survivors. And this one is the unique survivors reaching out. So a survivor might contact the hotline 1, 2, 3, 4 times before they actually ask for something. Victims and survivors have lost trust in a lot of people, and they want to build trust with us. And that is what we are doing on a constant basis with the National Human Trafficking Hotline. We have a survivor engagement person on staff at Polaris at this point, and they are helping inform our protocols and inform our response in all facets of the National Human Trafficking Hotline and across all programs at Polaris. So it's exciting to see that not only are we getting more signals from survivors, but those might be starting to plateau a little bit, which is exciting that maybe survivors are trusting us in fewer calls or getting their needs met in fewer calls. They may be calling for, at first, a legal referral, and then they're going to ask for a mental health referral. Then maybe they're going to ask for transportation, and then they are going to ask to help get out of the situation. So again, it could be several calls before they actually are having their needs, that they're willing to ask us for exactly what they want, or they are getting their needs met. But it is exciting to continue to see the number of unique survivors reaching out continue to increase, because it is indicative of more survivors trusting the National Human Trafficking Hotline as a resource for them. Lastly, this is the heat map that we release every year, and I think many of you have probably seen this. It's really exciting to see more and more of the United States being covered. What the different colors represent, dark red are indicative of high number of calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Again, this is not representative of human trafficking in the country. It is representative of awareness about human trafficking, the infrastructure of the anti-trafficking community within a state, but most importantly, the number of calls that are reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That is what is designing this. And over the years, we have seen many dark red colors on the coast, and it's been really exciting to see year over year as the number of red and orange continues to move into the middle of the country, as more awareness is brought to this heinous crime, and as well as communities building up their anti-trafficking infrastructure. So where Wyoming might not have had any cases or calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline in years past, it is now having more and more. Same with South Dakota. And as that awareness is brought up, that means that infrastructure has to be built up as well in that area. I think that is it for me. Thank you again for having me. I am going to be here for a little while and would love to answer any questions. We truly value our relationship with you all and all the work that you are doing on the ground in New Jersey. Again, as I said before, we are a national hotline, but we rely so heavily on our partners on the ground and would not be what we are without all of you doing the work on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. That was wonderful. So Susan Panzica will be sharing some of our results.
So thank you all for voting. I'm pleased to announce the results of the election. We needed 19 quorum. We had 46 votes by present and proxy ballots. And by unanimous vote, please join me in welcoming our new board and returning board members. Danny Papa, Kate Lee, James Halfpenny, Aldina Hovde, Miriam Kornhames, and Sister Mary Elizabeth Lloyd. Are you going to?
Thank you so much. So, one of my favorite scholar activists, Audre Lorde, said, "You are the ones you've been waiting for." And it's never resonated so clearly in my heart as today. You really are amazing. As I got to talk to you earlier, as I got to hear our speakers, as I am sure that you will continue the work, I wanted to thank you for being the ones that I've been waiting for. And I invite you to speak to one another and get to know each other. And I will see you here in 2019 for our next annual meeting. Thank you so much.